by the way. Thank you for having me.
I'm well, and welcome to Little Shorts with Mandy Rich. It's great to have you here. And let's start back at the beginning. And so I was reading a bit about you on your website and in your bio, and you talked about the fact that you picked up a guitar really young. I think you said like 10 or something like that.
Yeah,
Can you tell us
yeah.
what got you started with that?
It's a great question, Mandy. I mean, I think for a lot of us musicians, I've discovered over the years that it runs in the family. I mean, I remember, I have a picture hanging on my wall of myself and my dad. I'm 3 years old, and I got my little Mickey Mouse guitar that I've seen next to him at Christmas time, and he's playing Christmas songs. And I remember looking at him thinking, he's the coolest ever dad, as he's playing the guitars.
Yeah,
As soon as I was old enough to get my hands wrapped around the neck, mom put me into lessons. So
nice.
it was got came from my dad for sure.
Right, right. What kind of music did your dad listen to? Like, what were those really early musical influences for you?
Well, it's interesting because I remember dad was a huge country fan. So
Okay.
got exposed to Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings,
Hmm.
Chris Christopherson, and mom was
Yeah.
huge top 40. So whatever the top 40 trend of the time was, I was listening to it via her. And a
Right.
funny story I can remember as a kid, I used to watch the Monkees in syndication, Davy
Hmm.
Jones and Mickey Dolenz, all that. And I
Yeah.
remember I dug through my mom's old records and I found a copy of Hard Day's Night. And I went up to my
Okay.
mom and I said, Mom, I'm just a little guy, 6 years old. I said, who are these guys? Hold this album. I said, who are these guys copying the Monkees? And she started laughing. I had no idea why she was laughing.
A hard lesson that day, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So you got your guitar. Your dad introduced you to that. You were in lessons. Is that how you honed your skill? Lessons, or did you kind of were you self taught mostly, or how did you develop then as a musician?
No, that's it. That was just the start. I remember, I think I was 10, 11 years old at the time. And
Hmm.
after about a year, I sort of my interest dwindled off a bit. And it always kind of sat there in the corner. And then I joined a school band in grade 8 and
Hmm.
started playing the electric bass in the jazz band. And I thought that was
Hmm.
pretty cool. And then I got
Nice.
invited by a friend to join a pop band or a rock band. I thought that was really cool. And then at 14, I wrote my first song and it was all over at that point. As much as I
Nice.
loved playing a guitar, as soon as I wrote a song, I was so hooked. And then I
Right.
started picking up guitar on my own at that point.
Yeah, yeah. So you were hooked to what? Like songwriting? Was that your thing?
Yes,
Yeah. And
absolutely. It's
so
funny because people often say, Rich, you love music, you love playing guitar. I say, I do. I mean, but if I wasn't a songwriter, it would just be a hobby. Songwriting is what pushed me over the top, and that creation of music, making something from nothing and making a melody and putting some chords to it. And that's what really sort of turned me on and got me going.
mhm. So you were 14 at the time, then where did it go from
Yeah.
there?
I still remember that first song. I haven't. You never lose it. Your first song.
Right.
Every song else they probably say, "I remember my first song,"
Yeah.
and then it just started. I formed my own band, and we were about 15 years old, and we started playing any high school function we could, parties, and wherever we could
Hmm.
play. And I just
Yeah.
kept writing more and more songs. And at 18, when I graduated high school, I figured barely graduate high school, barely skin of
Right.
my teeth. I figured I'm going to be the
You
next
made
rock
it though.
star.
You made it. You made it.
And it's funny though, because I mean, it's funny where you look at me, where I was then and where I'm now, because after a year out of high school and I was basically played some really cheesy dives and man, some really out of the wall, crazy, bad, ugly places and to three people sometimes. And I
Yeah.
went back to school. Best thing I ever
Okay,
did.
good. Yeah, yeah.
And so I now have a master's degree and almost went for a PhD a few years ago. Here's a guy that barely passed high school. So it's funny the
Right.
transitions through life.
Right. And it shows that it's never too late, right? And it's good
Never.
despite your dreams of becoming a rock star. Sometimes it's good to have a little bit of a backup plan, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you
Yeah,
find
yeah.
other passions along the way. I found I had a
That's right.
huge passion for literature. The songwriting really morphed easily into literature and writing. And
Hmm.
I've gotten into fiction writing as well. So my degrees
Cool.
were English and humanities. So it's funny where
Nice.
passions can lead to other passions if you keep your doors open.
Hmm. And so what are you reading these days?
Well, I just finished Frankenstein because it was Halloween. So
Did
Mary
you?
Shelley's
Okay.
Frankenstein. I've read it a couple times, and now
Yeah,
I'm
that's
reading
a
a
classic.
biography of. Yeah, I'm reading a biography of Lincoln right now, Abraham Lincoln. I'm a huge fan.
Nice. Okay, cool. And you mentioned that you dove a little bit into literature and writing yourself. Have you
Yeah.
published anything?
I published a novel online with an online publisher about 7, 8 years ago. I call it 18. And Mandy, it was
Okay.
one of those bucket list items.
Yeah.
I wrote it on my lunch hour at my job. I took
No way.
old school too. I took pen and paper and I wrote it. I ended up with about 300, 400 sheets of notes. And then I typed it all out and I found a publisher who, I mean, it's small stuff. It's up on Amazon. It doesn't sell a heck of a lot, but you know, it was a checklist on the bucket list. And once
Right.
I'm an
What?
old guy and retire from my 9 to 5 job, it's something I'll dive into again when I have more time. But
Yeah.
it's a huge passion. Songwriting first, though. Fiction writing second.
Hmm. Hmm. Tell us a little bit about how you go about your songwriting process. Like, what inspires you? Is it a sound? Is it like you see a word or you hear a phrase? Like, what gets the ball rolling, kind of thing?
It's a good question, Mandy, because it's people often think it's this magical thing, this magical thunderbolt where you're struck with a passion,
Hmm.
and sometimes it is. But I often say that it's about 5% inspiration, 95% hard work. You get a little idea, you get a 5 second, 10-second guitar riff, and you think, where will that go from here? And then you start trying different chords and different progressions, different movements, and then you go, oh God, somebody else has already done that, and then you try something different. And sometimes it's just what if I have a really good idea that sticks in my head, whether it be a guitar line. Usually it's a melody. It's usually always a melody, and I'll stick in my head. If it sticks for a while, I realize it's worth working on, and I'll start fleshing it out and working it more and more all the time. Sometimes I get hit. Like I will wake up in the middle of the night. I have a song I released last year. I woke up at 3 a.m. I was restless, picked up the guitar, finished writing a song. 20 minutes later, I went back to sleep. So once in a
Oh,
while, you get these divine moments, inspiration where everything comes out
yeah.
quickly and fast, and I love it when that happens. But that's not the majority. The majority, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Fun work
Right.
though.
Like with anything, yeah, for sure. And like with anything else, it's the hard work that gets you there, right? You can
Yeah,
love it as much as you want and you can
yeah,
hope as much as you want, but you got to put the work in too. And it seems like you've done this and had some success because I read that you've had millions of Spotify and
yep,
YouTube views, which is huge.
yeah. I'm pretty proud
So
of it.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, congratulations. So you
thank
found
you,
a lot
thank you.
of digital success, and I think I know the answer, but how much did this new digital world affect you or influence you or help you to become more and more successful with your craft?
It's a great question, Mandy, and it's a double-edged sword of sorts because it's been wonderful on one side, but it hasn't been so great on the other. And what I
Mm,
mean by that is wonderful. If you 20 years ago, I would have never been able to reach 3, 4 million people. Not a
mm,
chance because if you had to go
right.
through the standard routine of record companies, things like that. Now I can write, record, produce, and mix and master myself and upload
Hmm.
it to Spotify and
Hmm.
Amazon everywhere else. And that's a wonderful thing. The downside is that it's so can everybody else.
Yes.
And spot and streaming costs. It's funny. I have friends that sometimes they think I'm making a lot of money because I'm getting 20,000 listeners a month on Spotify. And I look at them, I laugh. I say, you know how much that equates to? $100 a month in my pocket.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the downside. So it's give
Yeah.
and take.
Right. And that's the complaint of many, many, I'm sure all artists, right? Is that this move
Yeah,
to streaming has taken money out of their pockets, so to speak.
yeah,
And so, yeah, I hear you. It's the appearance of success is almost, it's just that it's like an appearance in some ways. But
yeah.
I guess it also depends how you measure your success because clearly a lot of people are
Absolutely.
tuning into you, right? So that's a good thing, I would think.
It's absolutely, man. I mean, success is, I've always believed is how you personally define it. And I define success as I get up every day and I get to do something I love to do. I mean, when I was 18 and graduated, everybody has a little write up next to themselves in their annual, and mine said
Mhm.
songster or something. And all these years later, I'm doing exactly what I said I'd do when I was 18. I mean, I'm
That's
not
great.
making a living with it per se, but I'm
Mm.
living with it, if that makes sense. And I
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
trade
that's
that for
right.
anything. That to me is success.
Yeah, for sure. And you're a busy guy. I mean, like you said you work a full-time job, you have your musical career, you're a dad. Tell us about all how those roles intertwine and how you manage to balance it all.
It's crazy. It's crazy fun though. My kids they're older now, so I don't have to. I'm not changing diapers and chasing after them and
Right.
things like that.
Those were
But
the days,
as
eh?
much Yeah. As much as I love the music and everything else, anybody asks you what's your biggest accomplishment, being a dad is the greatest thing I've ever done and will ever do. There's no question. That's
Hmm.
hands down.
Right. I hear you.
But my kids have always been super supportive. I always put them first. And you find ways to make it all work. I run regularly too, so I stay fit and I play hockey, and
Nice.
it's important to find space for everything.
Right.
And somehow I was able to do it all. I wrote my graduate thesis when my son was three. One son was three, and the other one was just born. And
Wow.
in hindsight, I don't know
Wow.
how the heck I did it, but
Yeah. No doubt.
it's time management. It's making time for things that are important, and it's not making excuses. Too many
Right.
people make excuses. Oh, I'm too busy. I'm too no. Find a way to make it work. You can, if it's
Hmm.
important to you, you can find a way to make it work.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. And you seem like a really straightforward and upfront guy. And you've also talked a bit
Thank you.
about um, bringing that aspect of authenticity to the image that people see of you, right? And I would imagine that's something difficult to balance when people just see what you project on social media or on YouTube or whatever. Can you talk a bit about that authenticity?
That's a great question. I've never been asked, talk. I've never had anybody ask this before. Talk about it. It's one of the things that I've always made sort of it's important for me to do is be myself. I don't change my name. My name is Rich Chambers is who I am. That's where I am online.
Right.
I find that when I do my promo shots and everything else, I'm usually wearing clothes I'd wear anywhere else.
Hmm.
Simple things like that.
Yeah.
I don't put
Yeah.
on a persona. And it's funny, man, because even right down to when I was young and started singing, I got told over and over again that your voice isn't very good. People are being tried to be nice, and they say you should, look for another singer for your band. All these things, and
Hmm.
part of the reason I'm convinced is I wouldn't. I was being myself the entire time. I wasn't trying to sound
Right.
like Bon Jovi or John Lennon or David Lee Roth or anybody like that. I was trying to be like Rich Chambers, and that's how I've done everything. I write from myself, from authentically, and even I write, record, and I produce what I like to do. My
Right.
sound isn't really super mainstream. In fact, I laugh. I often say, if somebody listens to my music, they're going to pin me as 20 years behind or 10 years ahead, depending on how you look at
Right.
it.
Right.
I just do what I do, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to have it any other way.
And so if somebody is new to your music and hasn't heard you before, how would you describe your sound?
It really sits in the crossroads. It sits in, and I've coined myself through the last 4 years as rock and roll reimagined. And what I mean by that is I looked at early rock and roll, which, the breakout of Chuck Berry, Elvis, Buddy Holly, all that kind of stuff. And really
Hmm.
what it was is Elvis was tapping into old blues music and country music and things like that. And Chuck Berry was taking blues music and putting a sort of popular spin on it. So you look at all those artists from the time, and they were taking music around them and merging it
Right.
and became rock and roll. And
Yeah.
so I'm looking at today's style. I'm thinking, okay, I am a little bit vintage. There's no question. I'm also got hints of country in me. I got little hints of bubblegum pop from my Partridge Family Monkeys
Right.
days.
Yeah.
So, and I love playing a bunch of jazz. I used to play in a jazz band in college, and I love Dean Martin and Harry Connick Jr. and the big band stuff. And it kind of all finds a way in there somehow. And so but it's still guitar based.
Hmm.
I pick up the guitar and I'm playing a guitar riff. So I've coined it as rock and roll reimagined. So it sits in the
Nice. I like
crossroads. And
that.
I
Yeah.
love it there. I absolutely love it there.
Yeah. That's a great term. I like it.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about you mentioned that you're a huge fan of the monkeys. So uh,
Yeah.
who
Guilty
else kind
pleasure.
of
Yeah.
yeah, tell us a little bit about some people that you admire that are maybe a little bit underrated in your view.
Well, the Monkees was one. I said, the Partridge Family, David Cassidy. I mean, I get laughed at for that one, but I've
But they
always
had quite
really
the
been a huge
following back
fan.
in the day, right?
Oh, did they ever? Did they ever?
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of there's all kinds of sort of early 70s, late 60s artists that I really like and get into. I mean, not that it's
Hmm.
underrated, but I'm a huge fan of things. Somebody like Otis Redding, I think was amazing. Guitar players, old blues guitar players like Freddie King. These are sort of things that people don't know that find their way into my music. And then I have mainstream stuff like most pop people have been influenced by the Beatles or Rolling Stones somehow.
Yes, yes.
And a local Vancouver guy, I mean, I'm a Brian Adams fan, and people often say, "Wow, you sound a bit like Brian Adams," which I take as a compliment. I'm a
For
massive
sure.
Elvis Costello fan. And then
Okay,
there's
yeah.
the people be surprised to know that I do like the Dean Martins and the the Sinatras and the Rat Pack and all that kind of stuff. And it's fun stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's quite a variety, but I guess that leads to your categorization of rock and roll reimagines. There's a little bit from everything, really, right? So it makes
Yeah,
up a
which
unique
is what early
sound.
rock and roll was. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What's on your own playlist these days? What are you listening to?
Oh, it depends. I go through moods. I was listening to Lisa Loeb the other day, who's
Okay.
really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And Sarah Harmer. These are Canadian. Sarah Harmer's a Canadian artist. Some amazing songwriting, and Melissa Etheridge. I'm a huge fan as well. So I'm kind of
Me
going through
too.
all the
Yeah.
female rockers at the moment. So I go
Nice,
through
nice.
phases. And then,
Yeah.
oddly enough, I pulled out an old Prism. Anybody remembers Prism from the late
Yeah.
'70s? Prism. I was listening
Yeah.
to the Armageddon and Virginia, and these songs are really cool. And these are things that people sometimes forget about. And it's great music, and I love diving into it.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I read a quote where you say that, well, you talk about a lot about education, how education rocks. How would
Yeah.
you draw a parallel between learning music and, studying for an exam? Do you see the two intertwining in any way?
For sure. I mean, the interesting thing, and that's a great question, by the way. Thank you. One of the things I love about education, where I think it's so universal and people don't realize the importance of it. People often get geared in education trains you specifically for a job. And there's
Right.
some truth to that. And that's why most students go to post-sec education. They want to get a better job. But what
Hmm.
surprises a lot of students, I spent many years, I work in a university, and I spent many years advising students, high school students transitioning to university. And
Hmm.
one of the things that they aren't aware of is how many other skills they pick up at university.
True.
They learn perseverance. They learn
Hmm.
communication skills. They learn time management. They learn how to
Right.
get things done. All these things that factor and help in every other aspect of your life. And it's
Yeah.
self empowerment. I've talked to many
Right.
students on graduation day, myself included. It's a moment where you're like, "Hey, I did it," and you feel so proud of yourself. So
Hmm.
there's
Hmm.
so many things, lessons that are learned through grinding out through a degree
Right.
or a technology diploma or something like that.
Yeah. It's almost the life skills that you learn along the way that are
Yeah,
maybe even
yeah.
more important than the content itself of the program, right? Because it prepares you for
Sometimes it
anything,
is.
like you say.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
What do you do at the university?
Right now, I'm a report writer. I write academic reports for the government and for the ministry. And
Oh,
so, if there's
interesting.
anything yeah, if anything lands on a ministry desk or is out to the public, it probably passed through me first. So,
Cool.
my writing skills, I laugh and say, people say English degrees don't get you anything. And I say, sure, they do. On my job
Ah,
specifically, because I'm a writer, I'm in my
yeah,
job.
exactly. Writing's important.
Was it
Tell
ever?
us
Was it ever?
tell us about your most recent record.
I just released last week called "All I Want Is Hope and Nothing More." And this is a song that's been sort of percolating with me for many years. And years ago, I took a deep dive into the romantic poetry of the early 19th century and the idea of Samuel Taylor Coleridge, William Wordsworth,
Right.
William Blake, these people who are trying to make sense of life, make sense of what it means to be human, make sense of the journeys they go through and looking at themselves internally. And I often laugh
Right.
that when I talk about the romantic poets, people often think romance, love, and hearts, but that's not where the
Mm,
original term came from. It's quite the
right.
opposite, actually. It's a
Hmm.
struggle for a human understanding, the struggle of the human existence.
Hmm.
So I put that into a rock tune, and I put it into a rock tune that's kind of really gritty and driving because sometimes you have to make the lyrical content or the subject matter match the tone of the music. So I'm quite proud of this one. It's 3 minutes and 30 seconds of just in your face. Whoa, that's going for it, and I'm
Nice.
quite proud of it.
Cool. And we can find that anywhere we stream music, I'm assuming.
Yep. Yep, I've
Okay.
got it up anywhere, Rich Chambers, and there's a picture of me looking out over a beach and with my back to the camera, and this
Nice.
song. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of the song.
Yeah, well, I will link all of your information in the
Thank you.
caption. But before we go today, Rich, tell us about your upcoming plans, where we can find you, where we can maybe see you live, all that kind of stuff.
I wish I had a live band. That's coming. I mean,
Okay.
live is a whole other beast. And as any
Right.
musician will tell you, the commitment to go live and everything else.
Hmm.
So I'm at the point where I'm just writing, recording, and once I can start building more and more followers,
Yep.
then I'll start going out on the road. So right
Okay.
now I'm just I'm online. So and I got a whole pile of Christmas songs, and every year I have
Oh,
one
nice.
Christmas song that streams me a few 100,000 every December. It's
No
crazy. I have
way.
so much
What's
fun
it
with it.
called?
It's called Snow Miser versus Heat Miser. And this is a
Okay.
song I did years ago. It's from the TV special Year Without a Santa Claus. I don't know if you ever see it. Stop animation. It was
Yes.
same as
Yes.
Rudolph and those and anybody who knows that song, that show, knows of that song. And I've got a bit of a cult following with it, and it's pretty neat to watch. Yeah,
That's cool.
so much
That's
fun.
really cool. Yeah. Well, Rich, you seem like a great guy. Thank you for sharing
Thanks,
your
Mandy.
story with me today. I'm looking forward to checking out your new single. And yes, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks, Mandy. Appreciate you having me, and thank you to what you do, allowing a platform for all us indie musicians. Thank you.
My pleasure.